Deputy White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre is with us now to talk about the latest on the economy and, of course, the pandemic. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
The first question, I've got to talk about this tweet sent out from White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki late Sunday night. It reads, "For anyone who needs to hear it, VP is not only a vital partner to POTUS, but a bold leader who has taken on key important challenges facing the country, from voting rights to addressing root causes of migration to expanding broadband." So I have to ask you, Karine, based on the timing of this tweet, late Sunday, and the tone, pretty strong, why was it important for Jen to send this out?
Well, let me just say this. I'm not going to speak to Washington gossip or anything like that here in D.C. What I can say is this, is that the president has complete and utmost confidence in the vice president. He thinks she's doing a great job, and he sees her as a partner in this, an integral partner on all the work that we're doing on the bipartisan infrastructure deal that he's signing today, the Build Back Better Act, and the voting rights, as you just read, that Jen Psaki talked about. All of this are key to the president's priorities. And again, as he has said, as the vice president has said, they are partners in this. She's always the first one in the room and the last one in the room, and that is what matters here with our administration and with this president.
Gossip is so destructive, but there is some gossip going on. So was Jen basically laying down, listen, I'm not dealing with this game that y'all are playing with rumor and speculation. This is what it's really about?
Well, this is what it's really about. This is what the president believes, and this is what the president knows. Like I said, he has complete confidence. He believes that the vice president is doing a great work. They are partners in this and will continue to be partners moving forward as we continue to deliver for the American public. That is what matters. That is what's important, and that's what the American public cares about.
Well, a lot of people care about COVID-19, obviously the vaccine mandates. A lot of parents are thinking about the effects on schooling. Is this vaccine right for their kids, especially their young children, and whether or not it's right for them to be mandated to be vaccinated? So what is the White House's stance on vaccine choice?
So let me just say this. Let me step back for a second, because this is really important for all of your viewers. A year ago, there were no vaccines. And so when this president came into the office with the COVID-19 being a crisis, he put together a comprehensive vaccination program, right? And where we are now, 10 months in, we have 80% of the American public at least has one shot in arms. 70% of the American public are fully vaccinated, and that matters. I think that's incredibly important. This holiday is going to be very different than last year. And so now what we have seen, the FDA and CDC had decided about a month ago or so that the 28 million kids who are between the ages of 5 to 11 now have the opportunity to get vaccinated. And that is important and critical in getting this pandemic behind us. Look, we understand that parents are going to have questions. That's why it's important to have trusted voices like their pediatrician, like experts who they can speak to, and we get that. But what we want to make sure is that folks know that it's available to those 28 million kids who, if parents decide to get them vaccinated. And the way to get out of this pandemic is to make sure that we get people vaccinated. And that is the president's focus, is saving lives and continuing to do just that.
No doubt that there are a lot of people who agree with you, and the fact that there is a lot of money that's been spent on this vaccination process and plan here in the United States. Is the president's new goal to have 100% of people vaccinated in this country?
We're not setting any goals at this time. Our purpose right now, our focus is saving lives and making sure that people have access to the vaccine. It's free, it's convenient, it's easy to get. I think 95% of households are able to get a vaccine that's very close to them. And so we're just going to make sure that we communicate that and let people know that in order to get out of this pandemic is to make sure you get vaccinated. And we want to also make sure that people are safe. We've got to remember all the economy, everything that we're seeing, keeping schools open, all of that is connected to this pandemic, and getting vaccinated is the answer.
Well, a lot of people people are looking at the economy and the cost of everything from groceries to gas. Inflation is obviously spiking. So what is the plan to tackle it?
Well, let me first say that the president understands that any price increase is a squeeze on American families. He's somebody that grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania. So that is something that he completely understands. Look, the president is doing everything that he can, taking unprecedented actions, working with business companies, working with Congress, working with labor unions to make sure that we address this increase of pricing. But one thing that I would say, as you know, you've heard us talk about the second part of the president's economic policy, which is the Build Back Better Act. What the president wants to make sure that happens is that we get that done, because we've heard from economists, even including 17 Nobel Prize winners in the economy, that say that both the bipartisan infrastructure deal and the Build Back Better Act together will ease inflation in the upcoming months. So it's important that we get that done. And so that's what we tell people, you know, in Congress, if you really, if inflation is a true concern to you, vote for the Build Back Better Act, and then we can really lower costs for American families. Elder care, child care, universal pre-K, making sure prescription drugs are affordable for our elder, and also housing, making sure housing is affordable. All of those things will lower costs as well.
Well, a lot of people are saying that could be a great long-term solution, but an immediate solution isn't necessarily right on the horizon for us. It's a huge problem. The president's approval ratings obviously slipping to a new low. The Democratic Party, it appears there are two camps within the party. Is the administration looking at strategically changing how it approaches dealing with its constituents, communicating, and really finding new answers or changing policy and platforms in light of all of this?
Well, let me just say, you just gave me an opportunity to talk about what the president is doing today. He's going to sign the Build Back Better, I'm sorry, not the Build Back Better, the bipartisan infrastructure deal. We're excited to sign the Build Back Better Act soon as get passed. But the bipartisan infrastructure deal is a big deal. And the reason why is because this is something that presidents in both parties in the past have tried to get done, and they haven't been able to get that done. President Joe Biden is going to deliver that. And we're talking about investing in our infrastructure, modernizing our infrastructure, making sure that we're getting the lead out of the water so that our kids are drinking clean water. We're talking about good union-paying jobs, millions of jobs that will be created from this bipartisan infrastructure deal, and also making sure that we're taking on an opportunity to take on climate change. And this, when we're talking about all of these components, including the broadband, making sure that the internet is available to all. We're not talking about just the East Coast or the West Coast. We're talking across the country in big states, small states, red states, blue states. This is going to have an effect on almost every American and American families across the country, and also give that middle class tax cut that Americans really, truly deserve.
All right, Karine, Jean-Pierre, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.